Module 2, Job Analysis. Job analysis is the process of obtaining information about jobs by determining the duties, tasks, or activities associated with these jobs. The goal is to improve organizational performance and productivity. Job analysis is concerned with objective and verifiable information about the actual requirements of a job. Large organizations take this task of job analysis very seriously and investigate jobs thoroughly using a variety of methods. The end result is a job description, a list of 20 to 30 individual jobs or tasks. Here's a sample job description of cashier customer service at Tim Hortons. Cashier. He/she will be responsible for operating the cash register, processing money, checks, and credit debit card payment, scanning items, tabulating total payment for goods or services required, receiving payment for goods and services, calculating daily shift payment received, and reconcile total sales, suggestive selling, stock shelving, cleaning counter area, and greeting customers to provide excellent customer service. So this describes the what, the how, and the why to maximize sales and customer retention. From this list of tasks, the job analyst will develop job specifications. Skills, such as ability to add and subtract. Education, in this case, completion of high school education. Experience, an asset. This slide describes the lengthy process of job analysis. See if you can follow it in the diagram, as this is a neat summary of nearly everything that I will be talking about in this unit. We start by gathering job information from a job analyst, the employee herself, and her supervisor. We can collect this information by using interviews, questionnaires, observations, records, or ONET, a government-provided resource. This information is organized by groups such as duties and responsibilities. From this, we can determine what are the skills and knowledge required. We then prepare a job description which is used by the HR department to recruit, compensate, and all those other functions already discussed. Basically, job analysis involves 6 steps. 1. You select the jobs to be studied. For example, this year, you may want to study the job of the auditor. 2. The information that you want concerns tasks, responsibilities, and skill requirements. 3. How are you going to get this information? From the supervisor and/or the auditor. 4. Which method will you use? Interviews with supervisors or the auditor's diaries, for example. 5. Will you talk to other auditors to ensure the accuracy of this information? 6. And finally, you are ready to write the job description. Information about jobs can be gathered in several ways. The most common are interviews, questionnaires, observation, and diaries. Interviews. A trained job analyst with analytical and writing skills interviews people about their work. He asks questions such as, what mathematical functions do you perform in your job? And, how are you exposed to risks or hazards? Or, what is the size of the budget, in dollars, for which you are responsible? Think about this for a moment. What is the best interview question you have ever been asked? Why was it the best? Probably because the question was related to the job and allowed you to describe your special skills or accomplishments. The advantages of the interview method are: it is more flexible than surveys. It allows for probing to extract information. The limitations of the interview are: it depends heavily on rapport between interviewee and respondent. It may suffer from validity and reliability problems. Using group interviews may increase validity because interviewees keep one another in check. Questionnaires. The job analyst circulates carefully prepared questionnaires to employees and their immediate supervisor. Questions include: describe the tasks or duties of your job. What is the purpose of the job? Describe the physical setting in which you do your job. What skills are needed to do the job? Detail the volume of work to be done. Do you supervise others? Check which of the following equipment you use to do your job. The job incumbents could also be given a list of tasks such as develop loan policies, be asked to put an X in the box if this applies to them, and to indicate the relative amount of time commonly spent on each applicable task on a scale of 1 to 10. The advantages of using questionnaires are: it's relatively inexpensive, the structure lends itself to computer analysis, can have a large sample. The limitations are: it does not allow for probing. It tends to focus on perceptions of jobs. Observation. In special cases, the job analyst will observe the people doing a job and record their observations on a standardized form. Sometimes, these observation sessions are videotaped. I want to clarify the difference between this type of observation and the kinds of observation done by Frederick Taylor and his disciples. In scientific engineering, the goal of observing is to increase production, to determine the most efficient way to do the job, and eliminate unnecessary tasks, steps, or movements. The goal of job analysis is to describe the job accurately, so that the skills needed to do the job are also accurate and valid. There are some advantages to observation, but tremendous disadvantages. First, the advantages. A third-party observer has more credibility than the job incumbent's own descriptions. It focuses on reality, not perceptions. And now, the limitations. Observation can influence the behavior of job incumbents. It is meaningless for jobs requiring mental effort, such as managerial jobs. How can we observe managers' work? They talk, they write, they do little that is physical. This method is not useful for a job with a long job cycle, such as a carpenter building a cabinet. Diaries. Sometimes, job holders are asked to keep a diary of what they do during the day. They are given booklets in which they are asked to record what they are doing every 15 or 30 minutes for a period of about 2 weeks. For more complicated jobs, employees are asked to keep this record for months, but only to record unusual events, such as what they are required to do when the system shuts down, or there is a fire or safety inspection. The advantages of this technique are: highly detailed information can be collected over the entire job cycle. Therefore, it is appropriate for jobs with long cycles. The disadvantages are: it requires the incumbent's participation and cooperation. It tends to focus on perceptions. You answered A, which is the correct answer. The principal advantage of the interview method is the ability to probe for more information and ask more questions. The accuracy of the information obtained can be controlled by ensuring all omissions and exaggerations are caught by collecting information from a representative sample of employees and managers and capturing all important data. The job descriptions which are obtained from these 4 methods can be checked against the list of 25,000 job descriptions prepared by the federal government and called the National Occupational Classification, NOC. This list of 25,000 common jobs represents an attempt to standardize job descriptions. It has the added benefit of facilitating the transfer of employees from a region with high unemployment to one with greater employment prospects. It also enables people to exchange information about jobs. For example, many consulting companies do organizational surveys to establish the going rate of pay for certain occupations such as directors of finance. By using common and standardized descriptions for this job, they can obtain more accurate data. The 4 most popular methods to obtain systematic, valid, and reliable information about jobs are the Position Analysis Questionnaire, the Critical Incident, Task Inventory Analysis, and Competency-Based Analysis. A first approach is Position Analysis Questionnaire, a questionnaire covering 194 different tasks which, by means of a 5-point scale, seeks to determine the degree to which different tasks are involved in performing a particular job. This is a standardized form, listing 194 different tasks. These 194 tasks are grouped into 6 divisions: information input, mental processes, work output, relationships with other persons, job context, and other job characteristics. You can read what each of these mean on this slide. What do some of the tasks sound like? Let's have a look. Oral communication. Advising. Dealing with individuals in order to counsel and/or guide them with regard to problems that may be resolved by legal, financial, scientific, clinical, technical, spiritual, and/or other professional principles. Then negotiating. Then persuading. Then instructing. Then interviewing for a specific objective. Then the tasks in a real job are compared against these tasks on a 5-point scale. The result is a highly quantified description of a job, which can be compared to other jobs and allows jobs to be grouped based on common characteristics. Comparison to other jobs is an essential step in compensation decisions. The critical incident method is useful when there is a need to define critical job tasks, those things which are essential for job success. These critical elements can be obtained through interviews or diaries. By asking job incumbents what the most important or critical job duties are, the analyst can prepare a list of about 10 task statements. The focus here is on job behaviors leading to job success. Another approach is task inventory analysis. A task inventory questionnaire is custom-made for organizations and helps employees and managers identify the essential duties of their jobs, how important they are, and how frequently these duties are performed. Traditional methods of job analysis are suitable only for static environments. To meet the changing requirement of today's turbulent environment, many companies have adopted competency-based analysis. The main objective of this method is to identify key competencies for organizational success. For example, a key competency for a manager might be the ability to plan. The result of the competency analysis will serve as a basis for developing job profiles that not only include the responsibilities of the job, but also workers' competencies to perform this job successfully. There are software programs which allow managers and employees to choose from an inventory of tasks which apply to their jobs. The more sophisticated programs are then capable of generating job descriptions and job specifications, and even doing job evaluation which results in determining pay levels. All approaches to the preparation lead to the end product, which is a job description. Critics of these approaches say that jobs are not stable, that they change continuously, and therefore job descriptions are dated and irrelevant. This slide summarizes the process of preparing a job description. Job descriptions. A job description is a written description of a job, including the duties, the requirements, and the specifications. These elements are grouped in standardized ways, allowing supervisors and HR analysts to scan a job description to locate the needed information quickly. The key elements which I will discuss in detail are the job title, job identification section, job duties or essential functions, and job specification section. Job titles are very important. They contain a lot of information. They confer status, so we know that VP of Finance is a more powerful person than a financial analyst. That is why everyone wants a fancy job title. The clerk wants to be called an administrator. The summer student wants to be called assistant finance officer, not finance clerk. The title indicates level. For example, junior analyst versus senior analyst. The title should be neutral and not reflect historical gender of the occupants, which is why we no longer say stewardess but flight attendant. Here are some interesting job titles which I have been accumulating from the newspapers. Second Vice President in charge of grapes, graffiti removal trainee, party chief, Director of Direct Reporting, Supreme Commander, and the setting is not military. Senior Special Executive Assistant to CEO, read boss's nephew. Vice President of Retirement, In the job identification section, we usually put the department where the job is located, the person to whom the job occupant reports, the levels of reports, or the date the analysis was prepared. This is critically important, as one of the main criticisms of the job description is that it becomes dated so rapidly. When dealing with hundreds of job descriptions, it is important to have a quick way of determining what the job is. Every job description will contain a summary section, which is a brief statement of what the job is. For example, tree trimmer trims trees to clear right-of-way for communication and electric power lines to minimize storm and short-circuit hazards. Following this brief summary of the job, the analyst then describes the job duties. This is the list of job tasks or duties, accumulated by the methods discussed earlier in this session. How do we know if a job duty is essential? Basically, it is the reason that the job exists. The key roles of a professor is to teach and do research. These are the reasons that a professor's job exists. Furthermore, a function is not essential if every employee does it. For example, writing emails is not a key function because everyone does it. And finally, it takes special expertise to teach university-level courses and do advanced research. For all these reasons, teaching and research could be considered essential functions of a professor. The essential functions are usually arranged in order of importance, and sometimes this importance is indicated by a percentage figure, such that the reader knows that the job holder spends 30% of his time preparing written reports, for instance. For the tree trimmer, the job duties could be climbs a tree to reach branches interfering with wires and transmissions, using climbing equipment. Sometimes these are not written in terms of the processes used to do the job, such as writing reports, but outcomes of the job, or results of the job. For example, counsels 12 unemployed clients a day, such that 20% of the clients find jobs. The tools needed for the job, such as the use of a laptop or a hammer, are included in this section. Using the previous example of a cashier, the job duties might read, need to know about the equipment, which includes price scanner, cash register, Interac machine, calculator, and computer terminal. And our tree trimmer, for example, needs a chainsaw. This section lists the actual skills needed to do the job. Items such as educational qualifications, knowledge of certain laws or principles of management, or abilities such as being able to write in a concise way or plan independently are included here. In some cases, the physical demands of the job are included here, such as the ability to lift 25 kilos or standing for extended periods at a cash register. Hazards of the job must be listed here, such as the ability to work in temperatures approaching 30 below for extended periods, or working with fast-moving trucks. Problems occur with job analysis. Can you think of two of these problems? If you stated that they would be out of date quickly, or that it is difficult to decide whether to describe the job or the person's skills, or maybe that there are legal issues, then you are right. There are 4 problems. They are sometimes poorly written and do not describe the entire job. As you can see, obtaining accurate job information is an expensive and slow process, and we have big problems with the currency of the data. Organizations seem to be changing so rapidly that jobs are eliminated or altered, and work done even last year may no longer exist, or the job duties have changed so dramatically that a static job description is no longer valid. The HR recruiter working from an old job description may be selecting candidates who are capable of operating a certain type of drill, but now the supervisor requires people who can handle an electric drill and have some mathematical abilities. Job requirements set out selection criteria, and as mentioned earlier, these are sometimes not valid. For example, asking someone to be able to lift 25 kilos is a better criterion than saying they must be 6 feet tall. Sometimes the job specifications indicate that the person must have a university degree, but indeed this is not necessary, and so there may be some cases where a high school graduate is capable of doing the job but is not selected. This would violate the law, and reasonable accommodation must be written into the job description. and sometimes a written job description will restrict the ability of the manager to make changes or respond to new demands. How many of us have heard an employee state, "That's not my job"? An interesting question some job analysts are asking is, should we pay employees for the duties they perform under their job description or for their competencies? For example, if your job says that you are to inventory the merchandise in the store, but you are also capable of preparing a software program which tells you when the inventory of certain items is too low, but your job description does not require you to do this, should you be paid for being able to do it? Question: I am asking you now to make: should organizations pay for tasks or job duties that an employee actually does on the job? Or should the organization pay the employee for all the skills or competencies that she possesses? Should pay be given for tasks or pay for competencies? The majority of organizations describe tasks or job duties and then assign points based on the value of those tasks to the organizations. From this description, compensation is determined, but there is another perspective. Some organizations are saying that because jobs change so rapidly, we shouldn't be hiring people based on current skills alone, such as those set out in job descriptions. We should instead be hiring them based on their ability to learn, grow, handle changing demands, and pick up new skills rapidly, a kind of work intelligence and adaptability. The emphasis in job descriptions is focusing on abilities needed, not just static tasks to be done, and looking at what people can bring to the job. We must recognize that a job description is static, not alive or moving. We have all seen in organizations that one position holder handles the job in dramatically more effective ways, which increases contribution, while another does exactly the same job in a methodical way. So job analyses are starting to look at behavior that leads to superior performance rather than just skills. The final step is to write the job. Take a moment to read the prescriptions for writing clear and specific job descriptions. We now know how job analyses are used for determining job requirements, and descriptions are used for orientation, training, performance evaluation, including discipline, and compensation and job specifications are used for recruitment, selection, and development. Let's now examine another purpose. We can design jobs to increase employee satisfaction and motivation in the hope of increasing productivity.